Oh, he's not very happy. Go on then. Go on then. Oh, folks, what a venue. Look at the state of that. Right then, folks, welcome to the beautiful Baden Hall Fishery. It's got to be my favourite venue in the whole wide world to fish at the minute, and probably for the next foreseeable. It is absolutely ridiculous. I think the last 916 features and films, whatever I've been doing, I've come here. It's so good, folks. We are on the Lodge Pool today for another Andy Mays crash course. Now this time I'm going to be talking you through how to be a little bit more selective when it comes to sort of skimmers and bream. Obviously, I appreciate we're not sort of like quite into, you know, the colder months yet. It's sort of middle of September. The fish are still feeding really well, but what's also feeding really well is little babby fish, like roach and perch and rudd and little babby skimmers, things like that. And that's why I'm choosing to fish like a method with little sort of mini bandams, 4mm bandams. Just that little change can put some bigger fish in your net, which is what you want. Yep, so, you know, traditional feeders, brilliant. You know, did a film on it not so long ago. You're going to catch loads of fish on that, but you can get mired, as I say, with these perch and things, especially when you're using natural bait. So nice, simple, well, a few hours fishing today. I'm not going to be fishing for long, and just talking you lovely lot exactly through the tactics that I'm going to use. As always, folks, you know I like to keep things simple. I'm going to give you a run through the setup first, and then we'll go on to bait, and then we'll go and get snarled up in these lovely big slimy poppadoms. It is amazing, folks. You've got to get yourselves here. So first things first, let me talk you through the setup. Now for this, it's skimmers and bream that I'm targeting, but there's some right big wobbly carps in here, and obviously venues that you'll go to where there's skimmers and bream, there might be F1s present, you know, tench, big fish like that. But what I would always recommend, if you're trying to target the skimmers and the bream, go for a softer rod than the norm. So for today, for example, I'm using the Press Innovation Superior SL rods. Absolutely superb when it comes to sort of like more into your winter fishing, but for silverfish as well. Lovely sort of through action, bends all the way through. Nice, lovely soft action, as I say, and I'm not going to say it, but blooming heck, I'm on a roll, so I'm going to say it. You don't really bump that many fish. But the skimmers and bream, and at the end of the day, you're going to bump the odd fish, you know, it's just one of them things. But there's a few techniques that I'll show you, you know, with where you want to, you know, play these fish. Rather than keeping your rod high, keep it nice and low and just point and wind basically, but we'll go through that later on. So first things first, nice soft rod. Now I've chosen to use a 10-foot today because my marker, I've got a massive Christmas tree as a marker, folks. Hopefully I won't be decorating it and chucking feeders in it, but I'm using a Christmas tree as a marker. I'm sort of like over towards the left-hand side. I'll show you where I'm chucking in a bit. So it's only, what, 25, 26 metres away. I'm not chucking far. Now I'd quite happily fish these rods up to sort of 35, 40 metres, and then me 11-footer would come into play. The reason, as I say, I'm going for an SL is just because of the type of fish I'm after. So 10-foot version, absolutely perfect. It will get the distance, no problem at all. So that's the rod covered. The next thing is the reel. Now we're on a size 4000 reel, something like that. I'm just using a magnitude today, and it's loaded with 6-pound sinking feeder mono. Great line. There's loads of other lines on the market, but I love this one. You chuck it in, the line sinks pretty quick, and you direct into them fish what you want. What I would say, make sure your reel is, you know, loaded right to the lip of the spool, just so it's nice and smooth when you're casting. Coming down to, in fact, I've not covered the tip. So tip wise, we've got the lightest tip you can get in. Yeah, again, because of all the, you know, the little taps that you'll sometimes get, you know, when there's fish in your peg, giving you confidence, you might want to slacken off on those so you're not spooking them. It's very important that you're choosing a really soft tip so you can see the proper bites. But again, basically for the time of the year that we're on now, the fish are still having to feed up, the bites are like, they're amazing. So softest tip you can get away with. Next, we're coming down to the feeder. Now, normally, I choose to use minimum of 30 gram. But for today's purposes, we've gone on to a 20 gram small inline feeder. Again, if I could, I'd want to use an elasticated feeder as well. The trouble is sometimes with inline ones, especially for skimmers and bream, you might bump the odd fish, but when you get a good hook hold, folks, generally it's not going to make a blind bit of difference. But I'd prefer to use an elasticated if I could, but there's not many venues that allow elasticated now, so just get used to using these, and that's why I like to use a lighter one, just because I think it gives you a better hook hold. 30 grams for me is more sort of carp and F1s, you know, really setting that hook when they take the bait. But certainly for the likes of these fish, 20 grams is more than acceptable, and we're not chucking far. It's not really windy, so I'm not having to cast through wind or anything like that. And then the finished bit, folks, is obviously the hook length. You know how I work by now, literally straight out of the packet, 0.13, 4 inches, to a 16s with a little babby band on. It's just the easiest way of fishing ever in your wide world. Just let me show you how I've connected that. So take that off there. All I've got on, getting on that JK, get zoomed in, I've just literally just done 3 sort of like, they're not like granny knots, but they're sort of like, oh, I've lost my feeder. I've dropped my bloody feeder. You sort of like, go through 3 times rather than your normal twice. I'm not even sure what it's called, but it's one of them knots anyway. And then that just hides inside the stem there. It's the strongest knot that I've found, you know what I mean? So dead nice and simple. So just get that feeder back on there, and then I shall talk you through what bait we're on. It's dead simple. There's a couple of different baits that, you know, might want to use, but what you've got to consider on these kind of venues, let's let me get that out of the way, is the carp venues, these folks, basically, you know, big open waters. So all these fish, the silverfish, all they see all the time is sort of like your particle baits, your pellets, your bigger pellets, you know, hemp, corn, things like that, but certainly pellet wise. That's why I've chosen to use a mixture, dead simple. I did these when I got here, soaked them for sort of 40-50 seconds. I've got the salted caramel 2 mils, and I've just got the Fin Perfect 2 mils. I've done sort of 3/4 Fin Perfect, the normal ones, and I've just done 1/4 of the salted caramel, the sticky feeder pellets, just so they bind a bit. I mean, they've been done sort of like 40 minutes ago, something like that, and you can see how well they really do bind together. So they make sure, obviously, they're staying on that method feeder when it gets down to the bottom, which is very important. Basically, all I've done, completely soaked them for 40-50 seconds, taken all the water off, just drained them, and then put them in a larger tub, working through, and then that's it. Perfect. The other thing I've got is some match method mix, just some of the dark one, a full pint bait tub, and then sort of 3/4 of a pint of water straight on it. Leave it for sort of 20 minutes, put it through a 4 mil riddle, and this is what you're left with. Now, what I have done and what I've been experimenting with the last sort of few weeks is these floor rocks. I absolutely adore these, folks. The colour, you know, I think that colour just sort of like catches the fish's attention and just sort of like stays in the peg. Obviously the ground bait's going to disperse a little bit, but them little flecks of colour just keep fishing your peg. I'm convinced they make a difference, and I think that's where obviously it's giving you the confidence, you know, to use these things. And obviously if you think it's going to catch you more fish, it's all about, you know, fishing's a massive part. Confidence plays a big part in fishing, and if something like that gives you confidence, just use them. And I can't not use them at the minute, folks. So then my 2 baits, just nice and simple. I can have a play between them. Basically, if I feel that I'm getting too many fish in your peg, you can never have too many fish in your peg, folks, but joking apart, sometimes you can, you know, loads of liners, potentially foul hook fish, they might be moving your feeder, and that's all to do with these bad boys. The best bait in the world for drawing fish in your peg is micros. The worst bait for getting too many fish in your peg is micros. So if I feel there's too many there, then that's when I'm going to put some ground bait on. Maybe just go pure ground bait, or sort of like do a 50-50 mix. Very versatile in the baits that I've got done up that I can choose to put around the feeder. Amazing. And then the next thing is my hook baits. I've not got a massive selection in terms of sort of size, but what I have got is a lot of colour options. Now, I'm massive for colours, folks. My personal favourites is pink, orange and yellow. Them 3, I can't put any other colour on. Even though there's some whites in there, I'm like, no, can't do it. Again, it all comes down to confidence. Red's another one, folks. I love using like red colour baits. But in particular, sort of like the orangey ones are these salted caramel with the micro bandems, or a pink one, the krill and squid. Absolutely adore them. But yellow as well. The waters, I'd say we've got sort of like 10 or 12 inches of visibility or something like that. So when you have got quite a clear water, that's when these brighter hook baits really do stand out, and they're just superb. These, obviously with them being wafters and with a size 16 hook on, they're just sinking ever so slow. It's an amazing bait, folks. But them 3, tubs of bait, my tubs of like my feed that I'm going to put around, obviously the feeder. That's it, we're good to go. The other thing I've got is some water. Now, why have you got water, Andrew? The reason I've got that is, I mean, obviously you wouldn't tell today, but the sun was out before, folks. Now, if the sun gets on your pellets too much, even like by covering with a towel, they will start to go a bit dry. So literally what I'm going to do, if they do start to go a bit dry, completely soak my hand, give it a little bit of a sprinkle off, and then just work it through the pellets, and that sort of like brings them back up to that state, and it gets them nice and tacky again. And it'll last another sort of good 20 minutes, half an hour. I shouldn't have to worry about it too much today though, folks, with this cloud cover. Hopefully it don't rain for you, but it shouldn't make a difference today. But if it does, just make sure you have a tub of water. And other than that, that's it. You know, obviously I'm not going to play around with feeder sizes. Potentially would I use a hybrid style feeder over a method? For me, depths come into it in that instance, folks. So I'm only chucking into sort of like 2.5 foot, and I'm going up a slope today. If I was fishing, I'm going to say sort of 3.5 foot plus, that's when I go into that style of feeder, because obviously your bait's staying in the feeder, just creeping off around the edges. Whereas a method, because I've fished this quite a few times over the last few weeks, it's noticeable that the fish are coming right into your feed. So what I always have is obviously me watch with me. Now, so important that I take a note of when I've cast it in. Now, usually within 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that's when you're getting your bite. So I don't want to go ideally longer than certainly 3 minutes before I wind back, cast it in again. Now, the beauty of the method is your bait's coming out pretty quick. Just as soon as it gets to the bottom, it's sort of like breaking out, and it's in a nice sort of like bigger area than what it would be with that. It's just a bigger footprint, and it's just drawing more and more fishing, which is like perfect for what I want today. Nice sort of like short session, targeting these skimmers and bream. I just can't wait for it, folks. So without further ado, I think I'm going to get on it. What I would say, and we're going to do it in one. We ain't cutting today, folks. We're going to do it in one. What I would say, when I'm going to play these fish, I'm not interested in sort of keeping my rod high like traditional style, winding down, keeping my rod high. I'm basically going to hook into the fish and then point and wind basically, but make sure your drag set right. So the drag set, obviously, not that it's too tight that it's going to snap me. I've got it just so the fish can take a little bit of line off. Because the beauty of these skimmers, when they turn up in numbers, oh, it's starting to rain, JQ, we should get away with it though. You can do a big weight in a short space of time. So what I want to do is just like maximise my time spent in the water catching these fish, rather than sort of pulling, lifting the rod high and winding down to them. Point and wind, and when you're getting pointed the right way, they just come in and you'll see why they're called skimmers. So first thing we're going to do is stop waffling. I'm going to get like a lighter brownier orange one of these micro bandams on. I'm going to put that on. So obviously these pre-tied hooks, folks, they come ready with like obviously the micro band. Absolutely perfect. Look at that beauty. You getting in on that, Jay? Ease on it. Now, as regards to loading the feeder, everyone's got their own personal preference. What I always used to do was put like a layer in first, really hard layer, and then my bait over the top, then a little babby layer, just so that little babby soft layer would break off first. But what's been more effective for me recently is just loading the feeder up, like so, bringing your bait back down towards the bottom, so it's sort of like 3/4 of the way down, if you like. You know that, JK? Yeah, boy! And then just putting the feeder back over it and giving it, giving it a right tight press, breaking it out, and that's what you're left with. So obviously the beauty of the method over like you know, the hybrid kind of feeder is it breaks up into sort of like roughly the size of my palm. That's how it's going to break up. So I'm not going to put another layer on that. That's going to go straight in. Nice sort of 4 or 5 foot drop when you're casting, folks. And once you cast in, rod back high so it's landing with that nice plop. Rod straight under water. It's hit the bottom pretty much instantly. Now, because I've got a little bit of a wind on the water, I'm going to sink the line. But what was noticeable last time, the fish were coming really quick, so we'll see what happens with that. So we've got a tiny bend in that rod. Don't want it overly tight. There's that other feed. I want to get the other feed out before I forget about that. No, we'll get him later. And then what you can do, folks, to be nice and quick, obviously I'm fishing from a match perspective, so I've tucked in then, actually, I'm waffling. I've tucked in then at 28, so that's not going to get left in that long. Once it gets to like 30, 31, I'm going to think about bringing that out. So there's the fish there then, we had a little tap. And that's what you can do, so that's ready for next time. So I've loaded that up. Is he on? Yep, so just pick that rod up and then just wind. Honestly, you've got to get to this venue. So you can see, not rushing it, literally just like sort of pointing and winding. My drag's set right, keeping that rod nice and low. And once you get them pointing in the right direction, you just can wind that a bit faster. It's such an effective way of fishing, folks, I can't tell you. You know, rather than lifting your rod high, winding down, doing that sort of pump and wind action, bump and wind, I don't see nothing wrong. And that's pump and grind, isn't it? You know what I mean? That kind of action. I'm basically waiting until the fish comes under my rod tip, which is now. And I'm going to get my landing net. Lift up, lift up, lift up. And he's there. So honestly, folks, it'll be one of them. Every go, it's just... I just get lost for like words. I know that's not like me, folks. Every time I come to it, just like, I just can't get over how good it is. The first time I fished on this side, we're on, what we on, peg 22 today. Normally I fish opposite me, but anyway, waffling. Look where that's hooked, right in the bottom lip, and that's where you should be hooking these fish, yeah? So unhook him, put him in there, and then we're going to catch another one. And that's basically what it'll be like all day. And now occasionally, obviously, you know, these fish, they tend to come in big numbers, and we'll get a good sort of, you know, a good 20 minutes, half an hour on them, and then it starts, but it don't really go quiet. I think it's just the fact that they come in such big numbers that they just completely wipe you out. So what you've got to do is just carry on, keep putting that bait in, but it's the casting frequency, folks. That's what I can't stress enough. With these kinds of fish, when they come into your peg in numbers, don't just sit there and wait for the bite. It's not like carp, you can be a bit more patient. It's similar to sort of like F1 fishing, you know, you don't want to leave it in any longer than like 3 minutes. As I said, most of the bites, that was in 90 seconds, most of them would be like that. So, make sure there's no slime in your hook length whatsoever. That, the mould is already loaded, and it's just anything that you can do to speed up the process, just do it. So we'll give it a nice little press, so it's embedded into the pellet, feeder over the top. Give it a big in, press him out, and away we go. So a nice 4 or 5 foot drop, bring that back, rod back nice and high, so it's a nice plop, straight on the same spot. It's like chucking in a maggot tub, folks, over there, honestly. And again, we'll sink that line just because there's a little bit of chop on the water. And we're on a little bit of a slope as well, a little bit of an incline, and with it being a 20 gram feed, I don't want it to fall down or anything. And then we'll just wait again. And hopefully it'll be the same process. So that got in 29. We're not even on half 10 yet, folks. We're on 29 and we're going again. Now, one thing I will say is 3 casts. If I go more than 3 casts, or like on my 3rd cast, if I've not had a fish on one particular colour of bait, I'll change. So I'll give this another 2 casts, then on my 4th one that I go to do, I will change bait, and I'll probably go to, I don't know, my favourites is like pink or a yellow or something like that. Yeah, he's on. So again, just wind into it. It's just nuts. I mean, this is a little babby fish, but it just shows you, folks. I mean, you are going to get odd little babby ones. That's the beauty of these microbandums, you know what I mean? You are going to get some smaller fish. Does not bother me whatsoever. Little skimmers, little babby skimmers, won't let him. But it just shows you, you know what I mean? This is what we're after. Yeah, again, bottom part of the lip, perfect. Straight back in again. Want to catch a big one. If the bait's still on, I mean, I'd always recommend changing it, but I honestly don't think it'll matter today. Just make sure that all that slime's off, you know, from around your hook and everywhere. Yeah, you can tell I've caught some skimmers the last few weeks, aren't you, from coming here, but he stayed to me. But you see that down there, you can see it against the black there, yeah? All that slime, make sure it's gone. You've got to get rid of that slime. Because all it's doing, it's just increasing the diameter of the line, and obviously it's got all that, horrible, for the other skimmers, and they don't like it. So again, that's baited up, ready to go. Push that down to there, that goes down to there. Yank! Massive squeeze, and away we go. Same again, chuck it in that maggot tub, nice feather down. In fact, I'm not going to sink it this time, I'm just going to put it straight on the rest. See what happens. Straight onto it. Bit of a bend in that rod, I'm just going to move it over to that one. Load that up, so we're on 31 now. Let's with how quick they're coming. And all we're doing, imagine every time, obviously them micros, you're just drawing more and more fish in every single time. It's just amazing. I would say don't overly worry about accuracy. Obviously the more you do something, the more accurate you're going to be, but because you're fishing in such a compact area on a method, it's not like, you know, when you're catapulting bait in, it's going over a big area. The fish have got to come to where your bait is, so as long as you're hitting the clip right and you're feathering the feeder in right, so it's landing with a nice plop, you don't want it to hit. In fact, I'm going to do a bad cast next time and show you what not to do. Well, I'm saying it's a bad cast, it will be a bad cast. Yeah, you want to make sure it lands with that nice plop, so you want to hit the clip, you know, sort of up to 6 foot above the surface of the water, so it's coming straight down, it's landing with that nice plop. Now what we're getting now is lots of like little taps. You know, that you'd like to think it's fish around your bait, but reality is it could be a fish anywhere from where your line's going in all the way out, but you'd like to think it's around your bait. Now what I tend to do when I start getting a lot of line is that I want to sort of like slacken the tip off. See, as soon as I started slackening that tip off, we had another line straight away. Just take all that resistance away at that end to potentially stop, you know, the fish being spooked or what have you. It does make a difference, and that's why using the softest tip you can get away with really will help you with these sort of skimmers and bream and other things. Like there's big hybrids in here, there's all sorts in. So I was waiting, this is the longest we've waited now, so we're on 32, so that's been in 2 minutes, so 1 more minute I'm going to come back. You know what I didn't do that time? I didn't change the bait, did I? I said it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference. Well, what I'm going to do this next time, I'm going to change the bait just to see if it does. It's mad, isn't it, how you get confidence on things like that. You wouldn't think it'd make a difference how many fish that are there, but hey up, is he on? Is he on? Yep, he's on. So it's not made a difference. Little babby one again. Not made a blind bit of difference, but it's another little babby one. So what I'll do this next time is just change that bait. Yes, you see how I'm playing them. Just keep pointing and winding, sitting with these little babby skimmers, just get them in nice and quick. Such an effective way of fishing. But you know, like 2 little babby ones are probably 4 ounce a piece. That's another, you know, 8 to 10 ounce in your net. You know what I mean? Even but just catching them little babby ones like that. Yeah, they soon weigh up them skimmers. Right, I want to show you a bad cast. How can we show a bad cast, Jakey? I want to show you a bad cast. Let's just do a bad cast in that same area and show you what not to do. So basically, it's going to go in the water. I'm not going to hit the clip. Even though it would be in the same area, it's not going to hit the clip. I want to show you the difference between a bad cast and a good cast. So I'm going to bring this out pretty quick. So basically, a bad cast is sort of that, not hitting your clip. Yeah? Did you hear that? And how that entered the water? But all your baits come off in one. In one. Worst thing you can do is leave that, folks, yeah? Never ever. If it doesn't hit the clip and doesn't land with a plop, forget about it. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to change that bait. So go for a pink one. Bearing in mind, folks, I'm fast forwarding everything. I would not change anything at the minute, the way it's going. I'll just put another one of them salted caramel bandems on, but I'm going to put one of my favourite pinks on, just to see. And by all means, you know, if you are getting the odd smaller one or this, that and the other, try, there's nothing wrong with it, you know, trying a big one, trying a 6mm, something like that. But the beauty of these 4mm is you're going to catch everything swimming. Just going to get bites all the time. So pink one down towards there. So remember, this is a good cast this time. So bad cast, massive noise on the water, bait comes off in one. What you want to do is, as soon as you've casted with that rod, bring your rod back to 12 o'clock, hits the, yeah, you see the difference, hits the clip, sort of 6 or 8 foot above the surface of the water, but more important, lands with that nice plop because it's coming straight down. You're doing what's called feathering the feeder in. You know, I always waffle on about feathering your float when you're fishing a waggler. It's exactly the same on a feeder when you've got that feeder clipped up. So let's see if we can get a quicker response on a pink. So 30, 35 we're on now. So now I need to leave that to 30, 38. Here we go. There's a little ding dang diddly diddly then. Little line edge. You want to make sure they're on. Now with skimmers, what they tend to do, suck your bait in and sort of like shake their heads there so you get them little taps. Incidentally, no need for braid or anything like that, folks, on these kind of waters. Mono is the way forward. The only time I'd use braid would be for when I was trucking it further, 50 yards or more, something like that. Mainly on natural venues. I don't tend to ever use braid on these kind of waters. So yeah, so we're getting, you can see the tip there, a few little tips, so we know there's something around it. That'll just be them skimmers pecking it. I don't know what happened then. Pecking around your feeder. Yeah, and that's what we're waiting for. If you're finding, again, it's very similar to carp, and if you're finding you're getting them sharp and then nothing there, that can be obviously fish picking your hook bait up, but not actually taking your hook, you know, rejecting your hook. So just go bigger. So he's on. Yeah, see, he was on then, and that's a bigger fish. That's a bigger fish. Well, I thought it was a bigger fish. It started off being a bigger fish, and it's a smaller fish. It must have just turned flat on. Not wrong with these. Not wrong with these whatsoever. That's, what's that? 3 fish for sort of, probably had a pound in 3, just over a pound in 3 little baby skimmers. And then we had obviously that big skimmer, or bream you might call it. He was 2 and a bit pound. Right, let's try another change up bait. Again, I wouldn't change anything at the minute, folks, but I'm just going to work through these colours just so I can show you. I think we'll have one more fish, and then basically we've pretty much covered everything. As regards to changing how you'd load the feeder, try it, you know what I mean? If you know, if they're coming really quick, maybe put your bait in first, you know, your hook bait in first, and then load your markers over the top so your hook bait's the first thing they see. But I like it to know that the fish are getting confident that they're taking your bait for sort of searching through the markers, if you like, you know what I mean? They're coming into your bait and actively searching for your hook bait. Just gives you so much confidence when they're actually feeding like that. It's brilliant. Not having to change around with ground bait or anything yet, you know, not getting loads of daft bites or liners or anything like that, not far looking any. So I'm not feeling I'm having to change. I'm still gonna put the markers in simply because it's a great way of getting a lot of fish in your peg in a very short space of time. It is absolutely superb. I love this style of fishing, folks. I can't get enough of it. Any form of rod and line fishing for me, but certainly this, when you're targeting. So if we're fishing like a traditional feeder today with like maggots and casters, we'd be getting loads of like little babby ones as well, and obviously, you know, you would eventually get the odd bigger skimmer, but there'd be more chance of catching little babby fish, gudgeon, perch. Whereas fishing like this, quite selective, but still allowing you to catch these sort of weight building skimmers, that I'll call them, before you know, you get into sort of like the bigger skimmers and then the bream. He's on then. Another little babby one there then, folks. So that was on a yellow one that time, remember? So I've worked through all the colours, getting these smaller skimmers. It's not something I'd do this early, but again, fast forward everything for you lovely lot, I'm going to try a little bit of ground bait just to see if we can maybe see. They're not even like little babby skimmers, them. They are worth catching, you know what I mean? Look at them. They're like proper fresh weight builders, them. You know what I mean? Sort of like 6, 7 ounce, them. Everything in the bottom lip, perfect. Yeah, so what I'm going to do this time, again, I'll be more than happy with this in the match, folks, absolutely. So what I'm going to do this time, once I've got all the mess off, blooming skimmers, not like skimmer slime, is there? Yeah. Is I'm going to put up a little bit of ground bait in this time, just to see if it makes a difference. Normally I'd only do this if, I'm going to go back to salted caramel. I love salted caramel, folks. Normally I'd only do this, as I say, if I was getting lots of funny bites and hooking them in different places, key, because obviously the markers have done the job, they've brought the fish in, but then I need to sort of like dilute everything, if you like, and just get the fish proper competing and picking my hook bait up. So I'm going to try and mix things up a little bit. I'm just going to put a few markers on the top there, hardly any, yeah? Literally hardly any. But what I want to do this time is see if the ground bait can just, you know, just act a little bit differently. Maybe get them fish competing a little bit more, because obviously the markers have done the job, you know, they've brought the fish in. Just want to see if we can get them fish competing a little bit better. So you can see there, I've got the markers on top that are going to break out very, very quick, and obviously the ground bait should just get the fish mooching that little bit better. But we're fast forwarding it, folks. I would not change anything at the minute whatsoever. Yeah, boy, he's in to see if this is any different. I would be so happy with how it's going at the minute, though. I would literally not change anything. Them skimmers are weight builders. Them's what you want, especially when you can get them that quick, like we're doing. Playing them nice and positive, basic point and wind. And here comes the rain on cue, so hopefully we'll catch one nice and quick. So when's he got in? That's gone in at 1. So So I know at 4 I need to come out. And catch one a little bit quicker. Obviously I'm going to stick to that ground bait. Because obviously just the cloud going into the water, there's nothing physical that it can eat, but obviously they're just coming into that scent. But no way I'd change anything yet in a match. I'd stick with it. It's amazing. Well, we've had a fish every single cast, haven't we? So can't go more than that. Can't go better than that. Got a big poppadom to start with and little hand-sized poppadoms. Go on the poppadoms. Oh, come on, let's see if we can get one before this rain starts. Come on. Oh, is he going? Is he going? So what you don't want to do, as I say, is go on that first one. You want to make sure what you get is a few little taps like that, yeah, so we know he's on. And yeah, it's a bigger fish on ground bait. Just shows you, doesn't it, that little tiny change like that. And if I was in a match, I probably wouldn't have changed yet. Oh yeah, he's a nice one. So again, point your rod, make sure your drag's right, and just wind. Oh, come on, let's get this done quick before this blooming rain starts. Come on. And that was back on my old faithful salted caramel one, that one. But that ground bait, you know, that could have made a difference, so I'll do exactly the same again. And this is the beauty of this style of fishing, it's just swapping and changing. You know, you quite happily stick with how you were catching. This is things to experiment on, you know, sort of later on into the session. Just kiting a bit to the left, this one. Another decent one. He's under the rod tip. Oh yeah, come on then. Oh, he's not very happy. Go on then. Go on then. Oh folks, what a venue. Look at the state of that. Right in the bottom lip. I'm going to get him out and I am going to end on that, and I'm going to have another hour fishing for. But look at that. That's the kind of fish you can expect here, certainly at Baden Hall, but on venues like this, you know, that all they see is sort of carp tactics. So if you go in there specifically to target them kind of fish, you've got them all to yourself, you know what I mean? So yeah, you've seen folks, it was in real time, we did it in one, just keep it nice and simple. Micos, a little bit of ground bait, your bandems, 4 mils, have a few 6 mils as well, you know what I mean, just in case, and maybe a little bit of corn, but stick to your 4 mils and you're going to catch absolutely everything swimming. Let us know how you get on, folks, and as ever, please don't forget to subscribe, you know, hit the notification button, and that'll give you a good indication of obviously when videos like this one are coming out for all you lovely lot to watch. So get yourselves out there, folks, and enjoy, and I'm going to reach my brolly.